Hey, welcome back to another show. We are standing in front of a 10-unit apartment building outside of Denver, Colorado. So we're gonna walk through the property, walk through how we sourced the deal, the numbers, go inside, go outside, talk about the rehab and what makes it a good rental. So I got my co-host here, Terrance Doyle. So Terrance, tell us about this deal.
This is, like you said, this is a 10-unit apartment building. It's in an opportunity zone, which isn't really relevant because we're not building, but it is an opportunity zone, which means that things around it will be developing. It's about 1.5 miles from the largest medical campus in the state, Anschutz Medical Campus. So it's just a 10-unit in Aurora.
And it's in a great spot. Just a few lots over, we got Colfax Avenue, which is a major thoroughfare in Denver, lots of history, lots of revitalization, lots of development money going in there. So it's a great location from here. But you didn't buy this as a rental for yourself. You're buying it as a property to take down, rehab, stabilize, and sell, right?
That's right.
So how'd you find this?
Yeah,
Because you're doing what a lot of people can't do in Denver.
Yeah, so basically it came down to a relationship we had with a broker. They know our business model. They know that we have the capital. They know we have the construction and the property management. And it's someone that they've had a relationship with. I think they actually helped the gentleman buy the property. He lived, I think, 1.5 hours away, was doing property management himself, was just tired. I think maybe some health things came into play. And he actually owned this property along with a duplex behind it, which we'll show you later. And so one of the special things about it was he wanted to sell both at the same time. So most of the time, people that are buying duplexes aren't buying 10 units for $1 million. Most of the time, people buying 10 units for $1 million aren't buying duplexes for 300. But it just so happened to be able to take down both. And that's what the owner wanted. And that's kind of what made it come together.
And realistically, you didn't really want the duplex, right? You just wanted this because this is more your model, but the duplex is kind of like the bastard child.
Yeah, and it was, what's nice about the duplex, it had a washer dryer inside. One of the tenants had a lease that was going on for 10 more months that was near market, so we didn't really have to do anything to that one. The other one, the other tenant was Section 8, and she was moving out, so it made sense for us to renovate it. We actually just got, we were able to increase the rent. It had washer and dryer, so we were able to get above market actually for it. So we'll hopefully sell that soon, and then we'll be left with this, and we'll hold this for 6 to 7 more months.
So real quick, what was the financing used to take this down? Because you got hard money, private, and construction loan from a bank. What'd you choose?
Yeah, so because of the time that we needed, so we actually closed on the duplex with cash. So it was even though it was one seller, we broke it up into 2 transactions. We just closed at the same time. So we bought the duplex with cash, and then we used private money at 8% for this property.
And how much money did you bring down to buy this?
So we didn't have to bring any money down. So the 100% of the purchase price was private money, $925,000, but we had to close quickly. And so obviously, what makes it work is that there was 8 tenants in here all paying rent. So what we can do on this property versus some of the other ones we've seen is we can just renovate 1 unit at a time, fill it, and then cash flow to cover that high monthly payment. I think the monthly payment's close to $8,500, so it's really expensive. So basically, we're just breaking even every month, or trying to. But once, I think we have 1 or 2 more units to finish, and then we'll be able to refinance the property, hold it for maybe 6 to 8 more months, and then wait for the right buyer.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned to the end of the show because we'll go into a lot more details, like the deep dive in the numbers. So make sure you check that out. All right, let's go walk it.
Let's check it out.
Terrance, what's the unit mix in this 10 unit?
So this property is 6 one-bedrooms and 4 studios. As you can see here, the studios are about 350 square feet, so pretty small. The one bedroom's a little bit bigger, 450 square feet. And what was nice is this unit had already been mostly renovated by the previous owner. Obviously, he didn't do what we normally do, but it was done enough to where in this area, it's not really gonna matter. So as you can see, he already had the LVT down. This is like a plastic baseboard. So we normally do the wood baseboard that's 3 or 4 inches that looks a little bit better, but that's honestly not gonna change the rent at all. And then we were able to glaze the bathtub, add a new range, and that was basically it. So we spent roughly $1,500 here. We added a coat of paint, glazed the bathtub, and added a range, and that was it. And we'll be able to get what we need in rent.
Great, and the punchline here is it's good enough for a rental in this part of town, so don't overspend or over-improve.
That's right.
All right, let's go see what units you actually turned.
So one of the things to go along with that is it's important to talk to a property manager or know the area. So if this was a different part of Denver, those things would matter. They would want everything brand new to get market rents. But because of this part of Aurora, this is better than what's out there for the price point, so it won't really impact. So I would just say, kind of a tip, if you're gonna get into multifamily, talk to a property manager, bring them with you when you're looking at units, and they can tell you, hey, if you do these 3 things, it'll get you this in rent, instead of guessing. Let's go check out the other ones.
So Terrance, we walked in here and what I said to you before you hit the camera was, this is probably the nicest unit I've seen in this part of town. This looks fantastic. Like, what did you do?
So I didn't do anything, but the GC and the subs did a great job. So basically we're doing our cookie cutter model that we see in most of our projects. We have new white appliances, so it's about $200 less than stainless steel. In this area, that's all that's necessary. We did new shaker style white cabinets. We did black granite, and even though that looks really clean, it's super cheap. And then we do a subway backsplash with the shelving instead of the upper cabinet. So if each cabinet is $150, we basically save $300 doing shelves instead of cabinets, and it still looks really good, and it kind of accentuates the subway tile with the black grout. So it's kind of something that looks good and saves us money.
So what did this kitchen look like before and what did you spend?
It was old cabinets. Hadn't been touched since the 70s. So it was like turquoise, I think tile, maybe pink cabinets, kind of something like that you can envision. And old, disgusting appliances, stuff you wouldn't, wish on anybody to put their food in. We spent on this unit $11,000, labor and materials.
For the whole unit?
For the whole unit. So it's a small unit, so that was a little bit more, but it was just in really bad shape. We had to skim coat the walls. There was a lot of smoke. It hadn't been touched in probably 25, 30 years. So that's what we did. And what the nice thing is, the rent when we bought it was about $750. That was the average in the area in this complex. And rents when we're done will be $1,050.
Wow.
So we spent basically $11,000 on the interior to get $300 an increase in rent. $300 times 12 is $3,600 a year. So right there, that's roughly a 30% return on your capital. And if you look at it, if you sold it a 6 cap, every $100 is worth $20,000. We made $60,000 on an $11,000 investment. So either way you slice it, either for the cash flow or for the sale, it was a good return.
Great.
Let's check out the rest of it.
So Terrance, for rentals in this area, I don't see too many things staged. Why'd you stage this one?
So what we've learned over time is that when you put all the money into remodeling it and you just put it up online, they can almost look similar to units that haven't been touched. With Photoshop and lighting, you can make an unrenovated unit and a renovated unit look pretty close to each other. So what we've done is we've learned to renovate one of the units, put full staging in it, take really good pictures with a video, post it online, and we probably get 5 times the traffic. So to reiterate, what we've learned over time is stage one of the units, take pictures and a video and post it, and you should see a dramatic increase in the traffic of showings.
And then are you keeping this staged throughout the whole project, and this will be like the last one you lease out? And that way you always have a stage one?
We don't have to do that. If someone wants to lease this unit, we can do it, and then we can just move the furniture to another one because of the way the complex is set up, and we'll have, we're renovating 2 units at a time right now. So we would be able to move it. But yeah, most of the time we try and save this one for the end, have one show unit that we can use to show everyone. That way, if the other ones are leased, we at least have one that we can show prospective tenants.
That's a great tip. All right, I'm curious to see the bathroom here. All right, so in this cozy bathroom here, this is very functional, especially for like a 1-bedroom. It looks great. What'd you do?
Instead of doing tile in like a higher end Denver 2-bed, 1-bath where we're getting $1,500, $1,600, we just carried the LVT through the bathroom. So that's one way to save money. And then the other thing we did was instead of retiling, this was that pink turquoise 1970s funky square tile, we were able just to glaze over it. And so by glazing it, it was about $200, and we glazed the tub as well, but it looks brand new. So it gives the feel as if, and the perception as if it's brand new, but it's actually 1970s tile just glazed over.
Nice. That probably saved you a good chunk of money not having to tile all that, right?
Thousands of $2,000 at least, probably. It's between not having to tile the floor and not tiling the walls. Yeah, $2,000 easy.
And new toilet, new vanity, it looks like?
New toilet, new vanity, and a new curtain rod, new mirror. So all in all, we're probably into this bathroom for $2,000. Normally a bathroom's $5,000 or $6,000. So because it's a rental in this part of town and it's a studio, we're able to find ways to save money to still get the rent we need.
Great. All right, so we're in the courtyard here. All the units face this. What did you do on the outside for the CapEx?
So a few things when we were walking the property initially is we noticed the roof was 25 years old. The gutters were really old. There was like 6 really old, nasty bushes that looked like they hadn't had water in 20 years right here. So, and then the other thing is all the ACs were in the window that looked like that. And so, just from an aesthetic standpoint, we're trying to get market rents and put in new tenants. These were things we knew had to go. So we painted the building, we painted the doors, we did new ACs that were into the wall. as opposed to the window. So it just makes the property look cleaner. So that's not going to increase, the AC will help with rent, but really what that does is just helps the property lease up faster. As opposed to it taking 3 or 4 weeks to lease it up, it should be 3 or 4 days.
It should make that big of a difference?
Well, just having the ACs in there and the whole aesthetic, taking the bushes out.
Oh, the whole package.
Adding the whole package together, right? Having a really clean property that, we added the fence, so security. We added the lights for a nice amenity at night. We added the benches for a common area. So these things all together should make it just a more attractive property. So, single women can be here, younger couples, younger professionals. So it's not, so instead of it being a subsidized housing project like it was before, now it's a property where market tenants feel comfortable, it's safe, with some nicer amenities. Most of the properties around here do not have AC, so it has AC and it still looks good as opposed to it, having 10 air conditioning hanging from the window.
So what's the cost of, you take that window and particle board or that window unit and stick it in the wall there, what's the general cost of that per one or on all?
$800.
Okay, so not that expensive.
So not bad, but the net effect is huge for the property.
And then what about all the other exterior work? Just what's the ballpark of the roof, the gutter, all that stuff?
So because of the number of roofs we do a year, we get a little bit of a discount. But the roof, let's call it, was $4,000. The paint was $3,000. We had to do a primer, it was pretty gross before. And then hanging the lights was $1,500. And then removing all this was $2,500. So, net for the exterior, we're probably gonna do it for $15,000. But it's, we solved a big problem of the property, which is a lot of CapEx, and then we improved the property by adding some amenities. They're gonna help us and make the property more valuable and ultimately just increase the NOI and make it more attractive for tenants, thus making it more attractive for an end buyer that wants mailbox money and residual income.
And how's the sewer on this? Because that's always an important
thing.
That's
yeah. So the sewer was fine. We
Okay.
we had to jet it and clean it, but there was no issue with the sewer.
So, and I know one of the things you did too was you had a laundry room, right?
Yeah, let's go check out the laundry room. I can show you the trash enclosure. We've been talking a lot about those recently. And then I'll show you the back area that we're gonna repave.
So if I recall, you were saying there wasn't actually a laundry room down here, right, earlier?
So when we first walked this was just one open dungeon. They had materials from 30 years, and it smelled like disgusting things that I don't want to mention on camera. And it wasn't being utilized for anything. So when we see a space like this and we're trying to improve the property, naturally we think, what can we add to increase value, make it more attractive for tenants? And the natural thing to put down here was a laundry room because there was no in-unit laundry. So if there was in-unit laundry, maybe we would have made this a gym, maybe we could have made it like a coffee bar, we could have done something else creative. But since there's no in-unit laundry, it only made sense to put laundry down here.
So that's better for the tenants, and also that adds, what, $100, $200 a month to an income?
Yeah, and I think, maybe not 100, if it was in unit, we look at $100 a month. I think just adding it to the facility just makes it more attractive and speeds up the leasing process.
But you're getting income from
so
that,
normally
right?
we get $100 a month. Yeah, you're right. $100 to $200 a month in the revenue from the laundry. You're right.
Great. Simple play, but a great one.
That's right.
Great. I want to see the trash enclosures back here because I remember how this looked.
Yeah, it was bad.
And I'm sure it looks much better now. All right, we're now out back of the property, and man, this looks way different than I saw it a couple months ago. I mean, you had, we just talked about a junkyard over there.
Right.
But talk about what you've done back here, because it looks great. I'm sure it bumps up the NOI.
That's right. So the thing left to do is, since the construction's almost done, we'll do new asphalt back here. So this is the last thing we have to do, and it'll just clean up the property. These storage units are leased to the same gentleman. And what we were able to do is clean it up a little bit, paint them. So we actually got an extra $150 a month. We were able to renew his lease on all of the storage, which was great.
And this is not a tenant from here. This is just
a
someone
separate
else storing
tenant.
Stuff, right?
I think he has, maybe he's a mechanic. I'm not really sure. But he uses all these and pays us every month, and so it's great. So we were able to add a fence, just add security. As you can see, there's a lot of, most of the time there's a lot of traffic back here in the alleyway. So we want to keep everyone out of the property, just make it safer. We added some light fixtures. Well, they haven't put them up yet. There should be exterior light fixtures that'll make this really bright, so if someone comes at night, it brightens it up just for safety. And then we added the trash enclosure. So like we said, when we closed, there was 5 shopping carts, a couch, tires, I don't know, it was like a junkyard over there. So, the first order of business was put the trash in an enclosure so people can't use it as their own personal garbage can, and it cleaned it up a lot. And then the last step will be finishing off the asphalt.
Great. Well, this is looking phenomenal. And so I know we got to wrap up here, but the duplex is across the alley, and that was the other property to buy with this, right?
That was kind of the throw-in. Yeah, as you can see, we painted it and new windows, and that comes with 5 parking spots, which is kind of nice. And hopefully we sell that soon.
Nice.
Yep. Let's go check out some other stuff.
Sounds good. All right, everyone, we're back in the studio, and this is our sixth financial.
Wow, 6 already.
Yeah, sixth one on here. And just like the previous one we mentioned, this is a kind of going to be an interesting one because we had actually walked this property right before COVID hit and we went on lockdown. And now this is a couple months after we record that. We're sitting down to discuss financials. So the world's changed. Some numbers have changed on here. So we're going to walk you through, discuss the numbers, and also talk about what happened from the original plan and how COVID has adjusted that plan.
It's a whole new world.
Yeah. So this is that 10-unit apartment building you got for $925, 0% down payment from private money and 8%, right?
That's right. We've since refinanced it, thankfully, at 4% in February, but we took it down with private money.
Yeah.
That's right.
And did you refinance once because of COVID, right?
I just felt like we had already stabilized the property. The rents were up. We had enough to show it, and I was tired of paying 8% a month. And I was like, let's just refinance. As rates were going down, and a banker had called me, and it was just ironic.
So you refinanced with a local bank?
A local bank.
Okay.
That's right.
And did you have to bring cash to closing, or did you have enough value of the property where it was like no cash to close?
It actually appraised it over 1.3, and all we did was take out the interest and the principal. Okay. So I believe we owe $975. We refinanced at $975. So we didn't have to bring any cash, and we left a ton of equity in the property. I wanted to keep my payment low.
And your payment dropped by 4% a month.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean that's great.
It was good. Yeah.
And about $150,000 in development costs.
That's right.
All right, so let's talk about what you're doing while you're redeveloping the property. You're estimating about $7,000 a month roughly in rental income because you're turning about 3 units at a time, right?
That's right.
So $0 in RUBS, and that was something you're implementing as you turn units and stabilized it. Expenses, interest about $6,200 a month at the 8% private money. Now it's way less than that. Utilities $500 a month, taxes $515, insurance $333. Your monthly total about $7,500 a month in carrying cost. So right there off the bat, while you're turning the units, if you're bringing about $7,000 a month in rental income, but your carrying cost about $700 a month, I mean you're pretty much breaking even as far as carrying costs.
That's right.
Like $500 one way or the other is
negative,
nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
On a property like this. So assuming if that's over 8 months, altogether you're spending about $60,000 in carrying cost, but then the vast majority of that's offset by the rental income.
That's right.
So once it's stabilized, you're projecting annual rents of about $135,000 a year.
That's right.
Now I know it came a little bit lower than that. Talk about that.
Yeah, basically, when we bought this property last September maybe, and when we were renovating units in November, December, and January and February, we were leasing up in the first or second weekend and getting at rent. Even I think a few had pets and wanted furniture, and we got more than what we had pro forma'd. And since February, and since everything kind of shut down in mid-March, we've had several vacancies. We've had one person leave because they couldn't afford it.
Just left the keys.
They just left the keys, couldn't afford it. So, and I think the one lease that we've signed we had to drop the rent, I think $100. So, what you find is that in these suburbs like Aurora, Littleton, Lakewood, when there is a downturn, those are the hardest places to lease. Now in Denver, we've had no issue leasing. It's just taken a lot more time. So we've been able to get the rent we had pro forma pre-COVID. It's just taken 3 or 4 weekends longer. So that's kind of where we're at, is we're getting less in rent. It's taking a lot longer to get it. And so, yeah, that number, although we were hitting that when we first purchased the property, I don't think it's going to probably be that high with the new world that we're living in now.
And I think we were doing some quick math before we record this. We're probably around $115, $120 annual.
Yeah.
So I mean about $15,000 to $20,000 less than you pro forma.
Which is a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot, but luckily you underwrote it well, you're not going to lose money on the property.
That's right, yeah. That's the beauty of real estate and multifamily is even though rents are going to come in less, our debt is so cheap. We bought it at a pretty low basis. And I think the punchline is you just have to be really disciplined because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, we would have no idea. We could have never in a million years said that we were going to have a massive downturn 6 months after purchasing this property. But thankfully, we bought it right. We were disciplined with our underwriting. And, even if we never sell it, we can hold it. And our basis, we're paying $3,200 a month in our payment. And we're producing $7,000 or $8,000 a month in rent.
So then you have the rent, probably more around $115, $120 a year. RUBS, is that going to stay about the same, do you think?
Yeah, RUBS won't be an issue.
Okay.
I mean, those expenses that we have to bill back won't change.
So, that'll be about $1,000 a month. So your vacancy at 5%, that leaves you an effective gross income of $140,000. And this is on the original pro formas we're talking about here. So we subtract out the annual expenses, taxes about $6,200 a year, insurance about $4,000 a year, utilities $12,000. That just offsets what RUBS is. Repairs and maintenance $6,000 a year. Talk about that, because this is still your $50 a month underwriting, right?
Yeah, and so historically for us, when you do roof, windows, HVAC, all the big items, there's not really a lot in maintenance there, and these units are really small. They're studios and ones, about average 450 square feet. So there's just not a lot that can go wrong. And so $50 is pretty conservative. You definitely could, if you wanted to be more conservative, put it at 60, 65. Historically, when it's outdated, we're closer to 85, and after it's renovated, we're at 50, and that's the reason why that came in at $6,000.
Great. Your property management, say 7%, property management fee, just under $10,000 for the year. Office expenses to include, payroll and paperwork and all that stuff.
Disputing property taxes.
Yes.
That's right.
$900 a year. Grounds, $15 a month. And this is, as I recall, this is zero-scaped, right?
Yeah, completely
It's
zero-scaped.
all concrete, basically.
It's all concrete. We actually put new asphalt in for the parking lot. We removed a lot of the bushes. There's nothing really to trim. We actually just did a new mural to make the whole thing pop, removed even more bushes in the front so you could see the mural. So yeah, that's going to be very conservative. Yeah. I don't know what you could spend money on there for the grant. I guess you could do the walkways in the winter. You're going to have to do snow removal. Yeah.
But that's what, $75, $100?
70, yeah, $100 max per snow.
And we don't get that much snow out here. And the replacement reserve, this is just our underwriting for, hey, you eventually do have to replace your roof again and replace the windows. It's just putting money away for the rainy day.
That's right.
So altogether, about $43,000 in total expenses. Leaves you a net operating income of $97,873. So that puts a 30.5% operating expense ratio, which is right on par here in Denver. Now your stabilized cash flow, be at $8,100 a month NOI, minus your interest payments at $6,100 a month, leaves you a cash flow of $1,900 a month. Now, two things have changed as we look at these numbers here. Is your NOI is actually going to be a little bit lower.
That's
as
right.
We talked about, rents are a bit lower. But your interest payment has probably dropped about half, I would think.
Yeah, I believe our payment's $3,200 right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, half.
And so exactly the new loan you got, is that interest only for the first year or two?
It's 3 years interest only.
Wow. Okay.
4%.
So that means the first 3 years interest only, and then after those 3 years, you're paying principal.
That's right.
But hopefully you'll probably sell it.
Hopefully,
right?
Yeah. Hopefully we can have it gone by then, yeah.
So his cash flow, even if we kept the interest payment at 8% and say his NOI, his NOI dropped, say $1,000 a month, he'd still be cash flowing. Drop $2,000 a month, he'd be a break even, which is, in my book, really good for, you're basically flipping the property.
For stabilizing a property, you're making money. Yeah, it's not bad.
Now let's talk about the 3 price exit scenario here. So we got a 5.5 cap, a 5.75 cap, and a 6-point cap. This part of town, what cap rate do you think it'll trade at?
Pre-COVID, you're square right there at 5.75, especially with an upgraded turnkey property. I think now we could be probably closer to 6. And with what's going on right now in Aurora, in this part of Aurora, you're probably closer to 6.
Now, these numbers at a 6-point cap rate, it's about a $1.6 million purchase price. But with like the lower NOI and all that stuff, do you have a ballpark?
If we were going to list the property today, we'd probably list it between 1.375 and 1.4. That's probably a 6 cap.
So let's just say 1.4 for easy math as we talk through this. So got $1.4 million purchase price or sales price. Selling cost, just under $100,000 to pay all the brokers and all the advertising stuff. Subtract out the original purchase price of $925. Subtract out your development cost. Subtract out your carrying cost. And so at the original purchase price, that would leave you a profit about $400,000. If you drop it to a 1.4 purchase price, you're at what, $170,000, $180,000 profit then?
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, still not too bad.
It's not too bad. Yeah, we learned a lot. I think, we overcame some obstacles with the leasing and with tenants, not paying rent or having trouble or putting on payment plans. And so all in all, I think, the team got better. We learned a lot. We had some interesting obstacles we had to overcome, and we made money in the process.
And so from this, since obviously you'll be probably taking a haircut based on your pro formas, any lessons learned or advice, or is it just, hey, the market threw you a curveball and you deal with it?
I think the lesson is I'm thankful we're in multifamily. We don't own restaurants or office space or retail that people were, virtually not paying rent at all and maybe not even coming back. I'm thankful that we were disciplined in underwriting and we bought it at a number that even when the world shut down, we were still going to be able to make money. And then I think we just carried that on moving forward. I think the thing that I've thought about a lot and I think just cemented even more is you should have to be very disciplined with underwriting because that's where you can lose money. And then thankfully with real estate, as long as you hold it and you have really low debt that's fixed, you can always come back. Even if we were upside down on this, as long as we stabilized it and had people paying rent, we could just hold and pay down debt and create whatever cash flow we could until the market turns or until someone can come in and redevelop it or see some value some other way. So I think those are all good things that just reaffirm that real estate's a good place to be and multifamily's a pretty safe place even during a global downturn.
All right, so let's talk about buy and hold. Now on the the PowerPoints here, we've got it at 5.75% cap rate at the original purchase price. So again, these numbers will be a bit lower, but it's still good for modeling example purposes. So we're assuming a purchase price of $1.7 million. A 25% down payment is $425,000. Add in your loan fees, your acquisition fees, you're close to another $17,000 on there. All in for about $443,000 for another investor come in here, plop that money down, and buy a turnkey asset.
That's right. And
just let the property and the money do their thing. So we underwrote this at pre-COVID lending, which is about a 4.375% interest rate. That was through a local credit union on a 5/1 ARM over 30-year amortization.
And what are you seeing right now? When you're helping clients, what kind of lending terms and rates are you seeing post-COVID?
It's just all over the board. I mean, like every bank is so different now. A lot of our go-to banks, they just can't even lend right now. They're running way higher vacancy. Some are requiring
like what, 10%, or what are they underwriting?
Anywhere like up to 10%.
Wow.
Like what the bank actually, this original one we got here for this quote, which is one of our go-to ones, they are now requiring a 10% vacancy underwritten, and they're now requiring a 30% down payment.
Wow.
So vacancy goes up from 5 to 10, and then down payment goes up to 25 to 30%, which obviously that hurts your numbers on the buy side.
Right.
Yeah.
So people are having to bring a lot more cash, and banks are way more conservative.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, I think the play right now, we've talked about this, is just agency debt through like Freddie. I mean, they're still lending great stuff out there, great terms. Their DCR has risen a little bit, sounds like, but you still have to bring 12 months of PI to escrow. So
just a lot more cash down.
Yep.
So people are either having to buy smaller properties or just waiting. Or
yeah.
What are you seeing?
So I've had some clients, they've shifted from buying like a smaller multi like this to go out there and hunt for some fourplexes, because they go out there and get a 30-year conventional
FHA.
Yeah. One of those loans, and those are right around 4% right now, still
Right.
25% down. So from when you put in the financing perspective, it makes it a lot of times more attractive. And then we still got some people out there just working with different lenders. We've just done what everyone else said. We just made more phone calls. We've networked more, and we found some great lenders that are still making deals happen in this market.
Cool. Yeah. So maybe build some new relationships for the future.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, that's the way it goes.
It's the name of the game.
Yeah. So I mean, so altogether, your PI payment's about $75,000 a year. Looking at the return on investment quadrant, which is a really great visual guide that our friend James Orr created, allows us to use. Cash flow is about $22,000 a year, and that gives you a 5% cash-on-cash return. Your appreciation is going to be about $50,000 a year as the property continues to appreciate. Your debt pay down, every time you write that check, you're paying down some principal reduction. You're getting $21,000 a year in equity build, or close to 5% return on your money. Then the tax benefits, assuming I think we put a 30% tax bracket in here, that's about a $17,000 a year benefit to the owner, and that's close to a 4% return on your money. So altogether, a 25% return on your money for the end investor here.
That's really cool to see it from that perspective, because most people just look at cash flow, or maybe they add in debt pay down, but it's rare to see cash flow, the depreciation, the debt, and the rent increases all together to see one global return.
And I think you have to look at the global return and say, oh, well, I'm getting 5% cash return. That's less than I make in the stock market. Well, that's not apples to apples. That's apples to oranges.
That's right. It's not
the
the whole
stock market.
picture.
That's your appreciation, your dividends. Out here, look at the other three ways you make money in real estate.
That's right.
Yeah. And then plus you factor in things like what you said earlier, you get these opportunities to refinance. And you can refinance, and that a lot of times costs you no money out of pocket, but that can increase your cash flow a couple years down the road and actually gives you a better return.
That's right.
You can't do that with stocks.
And replenish your equity.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's pretty incredible to see.
So going out to the 5th-year rental return, and the reason we like to take a snapshot at the 5th-year rental return is this one is very common for these buy and hold investors. Someone that would buy this property like this is, right between 5 to 7 years, at least in the Denver market, is usually a sweet spot for tapping into your equity to redeploy to go out there and buy more properties. So that might be selling and doing 1031 exchange, or going out there and doing like a cash out refi to pull out a couple of $1,000s and go buy another property with it. So at this point, you'd be making about $37,000 a year in cash flow, assuming you've been a good landlord and you're increasing rents at inflation and market rates. Your cumulative cash flow would be at $175,000 over those 5 years. Your total equity is about $834,000. Now, of course, about half of that is money that the investor put in there to buy the property. But if they got an extra $400,000 in equity, can they go out there and buy their property with that?
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's pretty incredible that you could tell someone, you can double your down payment in 5 years if you just stick to the principles and just don't mess it up. Yeah. Have a good property manager, take care of any issues that come up, take care of your tenants, and you're going to double your down payment.
So let's talk about that, because that brings up a theme that you and I talk about all the time. Because, Terrance and I, we talk business, we talk marketing, we talk real estate, we talk life. We just talk all this stuff all the time. And a common theme that he and I talk about as we talk to other people is patience.
Right.
And I know we both talked a lot of younger, newer investors, and I think that's a common theme we hear. So, how can you help just beat that into new investors' minds, the importance of patience?
Yeah, it's really hard. It's just, I think real estate has a way of self-regulating you to kind of force you to think about patience, because you have to let your money grow. And even though, our normal cycle on these deals in Denver may be a year to 2 years, in Des Moines, there's properties we've owned for 4 or 5 years, and it's just seeing the rents grow, seeing the debt getting paid down, and being able to, one of the positive things during COVID was we were able to refinance close to $4 million in Des Moines on 2 large apartment buildings, and we locked in 3.5% interest rate, and we pulled out close to $1.4 million this, in March, which is insane. So being able to see that, because it's one thing to read about it and to hear other people on podcasts talk about it, but then for me to actually do it, which was the largest refinance I've ever done,
that's awesome.
Is it's so powerful to see that, and the whole time the property's been cash flowing. So I think that for people that are starting out, there's nothing better. Just start with the house hack, start with the fourplex, start with the duplex, and just see that for yourself, experience it. It's one thing to hear people, you and I, talk about it, but I encourage everyone just to go take action and do it. Buy whatever property that you can afford right now. Go out there and do it. Be disciplined. Have someone coach you, mentor you in how to underwrite it, and go out there and hold it for 3, 4, 5 years. Invest in it. Take care of your tenants. Pay down your principal. And in 3 or 4 years, as rents increase and the Denver market continues to grow, you're going to be able to pull cash out, and it's going to be incredible. You're going to sit there and look at your bank account, growing every month, and then getting a big bump on the refinance, and you're being able to keep that property cash flow and then go buy another one. It's so powerful. I don't know any other way for just the regular working American to be able to build wealth than that.
That's very well said. Now, on that same theme of patience, you talked about, very well on the investing and cash flow side. What about the operator side of out there, just, looking at deals,
right,
building your network? Because, we've both been there. That can feel like at times like it's just you on an island getting
Groundhog
nowhere.
Day, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing, same conversation, 20 times.
How does that play into? Because you've had a tremendous investing trajectory arch as you've gone from single family to multifamily. Now you got even way bigger deals than this going on. What advice can you give people out there on developing patience? What type of time frame should they expect if they're brand new to real estate?
Yeah, it's just not sexy. I think patience is not sexy. It's not like cryptocurrency and all these other things you could see on Instagram and Facebook, but it's just tried and true, and it's just a great way to build financial independence, which is something that I know you talk a lot about with your clients. I think that the way that I've looked at it is just it's something I really enjoy, and I'm surrounded by people that I really admire and have great conversations with, and I'm always learning. I've learned so much from you and some other guys like you around town, And I think that people just have to surround yourself with people that you can grow with, that you enjoy talking to, that you enjoy living life with and doing business with. And there's just nothing better. You and I geek out on this stuff, and I think it just applies to everything. I think it's the same thing with the stock market. Even though I think real estate gives you more options because you own it and you control really your destiny, I think the same thing with stocks. If you're right now is a great time to buy stocks. Apple was at 220 a couple of weeks ago. But you got to hold long term. You have to believe in it long term. And if you're just trying to make a quick buck, I don't think that you can really maximize your potential or your capital's potential. So I don't know if I answered your direct question, but I just think that that's kind of been my mentality is I got to have a long-term perspective with this stuff. I may lose money on the deal this year, but I think long-term we're going to win if we just stick to our guns and stick to our principles.
I mean, and that's just so well said. That's, I think, such an important message, especially, we're in our 30s now. I remember when I was in my early 20s, I think patience is easier to come by as you get older, at least it was for me. But if you're new out there to real estate, if you're a younger investor out there, develop that skill. Be patient. Play the long game. That's how you build all sorts of wealth.
There's so much opportunity if you have the long enough perspective. That's right.
And so that's just, I think, a very important message right now with COVID, especially reading, if you got CNN on 24 hours a day, it's like, holy crap, every 2 minutes the world's falling apart.
Right.
Turn it off. Stay focused.
Right.
The world will come back together.
Right.
Terrance and I both were through the 2008 meltdown.
That's right.
We had our bad days, we had our good days. Life moved on. It happened. So have that patience. The economy will come back, and keep doing your fundamentals. Because Terrance and I, we bust rest every single day, working long days, doing all sorts of stuff, but we always do it in a long-term perspective.
Yeah, during difficult times, it's an opportunity to get better, and I think that's the thing with our team. What we've talked about is it's an opportunity for us to get better at property management, better at leasing, better at finding the right neighborhoods to be in long term. It's just an opportunity to learn from your mistakes and to double down on your strengths and just get better as an individual and as a team. And if you have that focus, I don't know how you can lose. It's going to turn out well long term.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you guys have questions on there, reach out to us. Leave questions and comments. If you're in Denver, if you live here, or you're traveling to Denver, reach out to us as well, because
we're looking for cool guests.
Yeah, come join us on the show.
Bring the energy. That's right.
All right, guys.
Good job,
have a great
Chris.
one.
That was great.